All right, so to get started, let's go ahead and create a new text layer. For my text, I'm just going to say get started, like the example. And let's go ahead and make this text a little bit bolder so it's easier to read. Perfect. I'll go ahead and zoom in here. Let's go ahead and hit Shift A to put that in an auto layout frame. From here, let's go ahead and give this frame 4 pixels of border radius. We're going to go ahead and give it a fill. I'm going to give it a color of this nice orange that we saw in the example because I like orange, if you could not tell. Next, let's go ahead and give this a stroke. I'll do a 2 pixel stroke. And let's go ahead and grab that color. And we'll go for a little bit of a darker stroke compared to the outline. Maybe something like this. That looks nice. Cool. Now, one thing we're going to go ahead and do with this, normally within auto layout, you would set your padding. We're not going to use padding in this example. We're actually going to use fixed widths. And this comes back to the interaction and some of the small details we're going to use. So not ideal, but I do think that fixed widths are going to be our best method for this. So let's go ahead and get something that looks nice here. I like that. Perfect. And also let's go ahead and set our stroke to outside. Now let's go ahead and change our font color. I'm just going to match it to this background, this little off-white we have here. Cool. And so this is just the base of our button. You could stop here. That's a perfect button, but obviously we are here to make this skeuomorphic. So let's go ahead and dive into that. So the key to nailing skeuomorphic buttons all comes with inner shadows. You could do this with gradients, but I like using inner shadows because it makes changing our button color super easy, and you only have to change your fill and stroke color rather than tons of different gradients, and it just gets messy. So let's go ahead and we're going to add 4 effects here. All of these will become inner shadows. I like adding them all ahead of time just because it makes it easy to see what each one is doing. So let's go ahead and grab this top one, and we're going to change it to inner shadow. And we're going to go first to our blend mode. Blend modes are huge here because we can set a inner shadow to white, but with the blend modes, it will then dynamically change color based on the button, or appear to change color. So let's go ahead and choose overlay. We're going to stay X at 0. Let's give this one a Y of 3. We're going to go a blur of 1. So we get this kind of sharper shadow here. And then let's set it to pure white, and we'll go 22% here. So you can already see, if we zoom in, this already kind of has a more orange tint to it compared to just like pure white. Real quick on our button, we want to make sure that we have clip content selected. The reason for that is this allows us now to adjust our spread. So the spread on this one, I'm just going to go 0.5 for half a pixel. Helps bring it in just a little bit there at the top. Cool. Let's go ahead and move on to our next inner shadow. We're going to jump into this one. Same thing. We're going to go to overlay right here. We're going to make this one more of a hard shadow. So that first one was kind of like a sharp highlight. This is going to be a little bit of a softer shadow. So let's go ahead and hit Y11. Perfect. You can kind of see it's already starting to blur more down here. We're going to give this one a blur of 8. Spread of -3.5. Just to bring it off those edges a little bit. And then similarly, we're going to go pure white, and we're going to go 60% opacity on this one. So now you can already see that glow starting to come in over the top. What we're trying to do here is emulate, if this was a 3D object, how light would be interacting with it. So if we have the light above, you would have this sharp outline right here of the light initially hitting it, and then kind of that smooth fall off of the rest of the light as we go down. We're already starting to get some of that effect. Now let's go ahead and jump down to our bottom inner shadows. So these are going to be more of our shading down on this section. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this inner shadow, and we're going to give it the blending mode of soft light. I like how soft light works a little bit more in the shadows compared to overlay, so that's why we're doing that. So let's go ahead and bring this Y back to -2, so it starts to come up this direction. And let's go ahead and change that blur to 1. and that spread to 0.5. Lastly, we'll go ahead and up this opacity up to 60%. So if you noticed, a lot of these settings are almost identical to our highlight up here. But from down here, this is basically just that same effect as that sharper part of the shadow, but now down here and in that darker color. So finally, let's take this last inner shadow, and we're going to do soft light once again. 0 on the X. Let's go -6 on the Y. A blur of 8. A spread of -3.5. And 60% opacity on that shadow. So now we're really starting to get that shadow underneath as if the button is curving down here and that highlight up top. Awesome. Now, lastly, let's go ahead and just add a drop shadow to this button. Right here. We'll drag this to the bottom just to keep things organized. And we'll make this a nice soft shadow. So we'll just give it a Y of 2, blur of 9, spread of -1.5. And that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and make it a component just by clicking Create Component. And let's add a variant. We're going to call this property clicked. And we'll set it to true on the second variant. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just adjust our inner shadows. So if we go to our first inner shadow, we're going to change the blur to 10. So it just softens out that top part. And then we're going to change this from white to black. Now let's go ahead down to our next inner shadow. We're going to change the Y to 6. We're going to go up to a blur of 14, a spread of -1.5, and a value, once again, of black. Now you can really start to see how that feels like it's getting pushed down into the border there. Let's go down one more to this last inner shadow. You don't have to do this, but I like actually bringing this shadow up top. So just changing this to a positive value of 2. And honestly, we can leave the rest of the same. It just helps add some more darkness up here. Because once again, we're trying to emulate what real light would do. And if this is getting pressed down below the surface of this, the wall here would be casting a shadow down onto the button, and some light would be hitting down here. One last small thing I like to do is take the font, and I like to lower its opacity just a tiny bit, and then also just shrink its size. So like I'll just change the font size here to like 15.5, really subtle, but this helps when we click feel like the button is actually lowering and getting further away from us. So that's why we have those fixed heights, is because if we didn't and we changed that font size, the button itself would change size. So lastly, let's go ahead and select our original button, go to prototype, and let's create a new interaction. From here, we'll change on click to while pressing, and we'll change this to change to clicked true. We'll go smart animate, and then I like doing something pretty quick here, like 75 milliseconds, and also doing a custom ease where we just ease these out a little bit. Smooths it out. I like kind of having a shorter curve here and then kind of into a longer curve. So let's go ahead and pull this up into the preview. So with that button made, now we can go ahead and click, and you see it looks like we are clicking that button down into the surface, and that feels so nice to click. So thanks for watching how to make the new Skeuomorphic buttons that you're seeing all over Twitter. If you're interested, I have a Patreon page where we're going to go over how to now build this out in Webflow from start to finish, so you can start integrating this on your websites. Hope to see you over there. Thanks for watching, and I would really appreciate it if you hit like and hit subscribe to stay tuned for more content like this. Thanks. Bye-bye.